Ladies and gentlemen, I want to go to my channel right now, and I'm going to put some notes into today's show. So just give me a moment if you are online to put a few notes up on the screen for today's show and also for tomorrow's show. So,
Secrets of the dollar bill.
We will not be talking about secrets of the dollar bill. Well, who knows?
We're talking about secrets of the dollar bill.
But who knows? The first show note that I'm going to post on there is the fact that this is, in fact, a flat earth comedy video. Give me a moment, please, to Flying Circus. Just give me one moment to put on. I have a 3 or 4 notes that I want to post up on here, and then I will start the show. So, and then I'll read those show notes because they're important. So, I'm almost done. And Flying Circus, thank you very much for that nice video that you posted for Daisy May. Appreciate that. And I still hear stories about Daisy May on YouTube, though. Not real concerned about it, but I would tell you that probably not a good thing to keep talking about Daisy May, but that would be up to the individuals that are talking about Daisy May. Right is right. That's right, Flying Circus. You definitely put on a nice video, and there was a lot of comments on your video regarding Daisy May's privacy and her plans for the future. Thank you for that. So what I want to talk about today is, well, the first thing I want to talk about is I'm hearing stories that I'm an e-beggar and I'm broke. Now, that never happened. It's not true. And I even heard stories that I didn't have enough money to buy salami and cheese when I was in New York. However, I will negate those stories right now, telling you that my trip to New York cost me upwards of $25,000 US. So when I was doing some live streams from New York, and I was in fact flushing a toilet and a tank and making some small YouTube earnings, the actual trip to New York at the end of the day took just over 2 months and cost more than $25,000 US. So begging for money for salami and cheese was probably never part of my repertoire in New York. So that is negated at this point. Now we're going to talk about tomorrow's show, which is going to be pretty much, the title is going to be Fate and or Destiny, or is it God that protects us from the possible futures, as Pink Floyd would say, possible futures. So that's going to be tomorrow's show at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my standard show time. And there is such a thing as fate and or destiny, but at some point, and we're going to discuss this in great detail tomorrow, at some point, something other than fate and destiny takes place in our lives. People stop for no reason whatsoever in the middle, just before they get to an intersection with their car. They don't even know why they stop. And they have a green light, and somebody flies through the red light in front of them at 100 miles an hour. That is possibly fate and or destiny, or some other spirit entity or spiritual aspect of the universe that takes place. And that happened to me this week. Something made me turn around. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here today. So that's a true story, and it's coming up. and it's going to be on the anniversary of the day I was stabbed to death on December 15th of 1970, excuse me. So I wasn't, and there was quite a bit of circumstance before that to prove that there is a spirit world, and it does talk, although in strange ways. It does talk to people, and it does tell you about future possible events. So that would be for tomorrow, Sunday, Philippines time, 10 a.m., 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, I also wanted to let you guys know that I heard from Warren. Hello, Pennsylvania Trucker. Welcome to the machine. Thank you very much. Wow, that's quite an honor to have Pennsylvania Trucker here. I got to tell you, that was a surprise, Pennsylvania Trucker. How you doing today? What part of the United States are you driving around? And are you delivering a load, picking up a load? How much does your load weigh? And have you had any trouble? I could ask you a question, a specific question. Have you had much trouble driving through New Jersey and Pennsylvania? Because I'm going to tell you something. I drove all over the United States in the year 1991 and 93. I did more than 30,000 miles on the road. And the only three states that I had trouble in, and I had a lot of trouble in those three states, was Texas, when I got pulled over by a trooper in Texas, and he gave me this speech. Sir, do you know why you were pulled over in the great state of Texas? And I said, I have no idea. And he went on to explain that he was a trooper in the great state of Texas, and I didn't, but he said I did change lanes without putting my blinker on, which I did put my blinker on, and he could not have possibly seen me. I was behind a big tractor trailer truck, and he offered me the following possible solution to not getting a ticket. He told me I could have my van searched completely with dogs, or I could get a ticket. So I of course told him, please, by all means, search my van. So that was the one state that I had a lot of trouble in. The other state was New Jersey, which was probably the most trouble I've ever had by state troopers. And the third state was Pennsylvania. So yeah, okay. So let me just read Scott Del Fuego's message, and I'll get the Pennsylvania Trucker sitting in an Atlanta traffic jam in a moment. So Scott Del Fuego says, drop your socks and grab your socks. Time for some testosterone therapy via the net with the one and only man's man and blue-collar philosopher of many talents and more ideas. Fazio is on. So we're going to, of course, you know what? I deleted moderators by I don't know how I did it, but I deleted a moderator, and all moderators got deleted. So you're back as a moderator, Scott. Thank you for the wonderful comment. Scott Del Fuego says, hello, Pennsylvania Trucker. Pennsylvania Trucker sitting in a traffic jam in Atlanta, Georgia, which would be 10 o'clock at night. And I got to tell you, I've gone through Georgia, and I go through Georgia at midnight. I go through Georgia. I would leave Florida. I would leave Florida about 8:30 at night, the Florida Keys, to head to New York. And I'd hit Georgia 6 hours, 7 hours later, 8 hours later, and because I had a van. And you're welcome, Scott. And Atlanta, Georgia, they were working on the roads there for 10 years. They were building the same multiple interstate crossing highways above. It was the most, for 10 years, they worked in Atlanta, Georgia on the roads. And Pennsylvania's trucker agrees with me. He hates New Jersey. So in the great state of Texas, I was driving through. I had this beat up old van, and I had long hair, but no beard. And I got pulled over by the trooper came out and said, "Welcome to the great state of Texas." And he gave me this big long speech, told me why I got pulled over. I said, "Sorry, I didn't cross the lane." And with that, another man, I don't know how big this guy is, probably about the size of a house. He stood next to the trooper. He came in a different car. Apparently he was called, and apparently he was a drug enforcement agent. And they took one look at me in the van and said, "We'll give you a ticket, or you can have your van searched." And the ticket was expensive. It's like $100 plus. This was back in 1991. So I said to him, by all means, search the van. And I said, because I was coming back from California and I hadn't slept, not one bit, since 5 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know what time it was, but it was late in the afternoon in Texas. Maybe whatever time it was, I hadn't slept a wink. And I was falling asleep anyway. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go over there by that fence and go to sleep for a while. I had a dog with me, a German Shepherd Doberman mix. And he said, "You're not going anywhere." I said, "Dude, there's nothing but," there was a plain in front of me. Nothing. There was, for 10,000 acres, the earth was as flat as could be. And there was nothing but low-cut grass, maybe hay or wheat, alfalfa, something like that. And there was a 8-foot fence between the highway and the field for as long as you could see in either direction. And I said, "I'm going over there. I'm going to sleep." So I grabbed my blanket out of the van, and he handcuffed me to the fence. And I had to take my dog with me because the dog wouldn't let them in the van. So I tied the dog to the van, and he barked for an hour and a half. And the great state of Texas, the trooper started taking the stuff. They laid out a tarpaulin on the ground, and they started taking my stuff out of the van. I had a couple of old beat-up suitcases and some boxes of stuff that I had, that just my supplies, and they took it all out. And I had a 5-gallon bucket in the van that I used for a bathroom, and they opened that up, and they went they backed up a little bit. And then the trooper stuck his hand into the dashboard where there was once a radio, and there was a 3-inch drywall screw that I used to put a bracket on inside the dashboard of the car. I knew it was there. I didn't use that hole where the radio once was. And he stuck his hand in there really quick and ripped his hand from like here to here, ripped it open. They had to bring an ambulance with medics, doctors, to fix his hand, to repair his hand. But by this time, there was about 6 or 7 state troopers, and the DEA agent was there also, and they brought a dog. So they went through the van with the dog, and they didn't find anything, so they took everything out of the van, except underneath the back seat where I had my bed, there was a box, and inside the box was cacti, many cacti, long thorn cactus plants that I had brought back from California, which, in theory, it was illegal to cross the line with any kind of fruit or vegetables. And one of the troopers said, "I found it," because the box had tape on it. And he opened up the box and he just stuck his hand in the box really quick because it had like soft tissue paper in between the cactuses. And he screamed like a little girl. He stuck his hand inside a box full of cactus and had thousands of pricklies from his fingers all the way up halfway past his wrist. And of course, the medical technicians on site had to they had to care for his wounds. So after about and when he stuck his hand in the box, after I heard him say I found it, he said, and he stuck his hand in there, and I looked up and I says, "Oh no." Oh yeah, baby. He was in a world of stuff, and shortly after that, they realized there wasn't anything in the van, and prior to them searching my van, they asked me if I had any money on me, and I said, "Yeah, I have some money on me," and I had a flannel shirt on, and inside the flannel shirt, I had $2,000 or $3,000. I don't remember what it was. It was chump change, and he said, "Why you have so much money on you?" And I said, "Well, I don't have a credit card." This was back in 1991. And he goes, "Oh yeah, are you selling drugs?" And he asked me a bunch of questions, and I said, "No, dude, I don't even smoke cigarettes." And he went, "Well, we're gonna search," and then he went on to his speech about searching the van or giving me a ticket. So I wanted to go to sleep, so I took the search. So Fox 222 Fox 1, my new friend, thank you for stopping by. Shortly after he stuck his hand in that box of cactus, there wasn't anything left, and I'm going to tell you, they unfurled my socks and took the slippers out of my shoes and put the dog through the van once it was empty, and there wasn't anything in the van to find, so they let me go without a ticket, and that was it. That was the end of it. Well, actually, it was a little bit more. In the beginning, he said to me, "We'll give you a choice, search the van or get a ticket." I says, "I'll make a deal with you. You search the van, and if you don't find anything, you don't give me a ticket." But he offered that. But he's going, "We don't make deals." I'm going, okay. So that was Texas, the great state of Texas. New Jersey. Now, New Jersey, they took me out of a station wagon that I was in and turned the station wagon upside down. 2.5 hours with a dog, and they took the mats out of the station wagon. They stuck their hands in the hole in the rug in the floor. They took the tire out. They took my toolbox out. They looked inside each socket and every crevice of the station wagon for drugs with a dog, and they didn't find anything either. But they gave me a ticket for $175 because my blinker light didn't work, and I had it fixed the next day and sent them the bill that the truck, that the car with station wagon was fixed, and they didn't charge me the bill. And Pennsylvania, now that bill I paid $150 for a broken headlamp. Now what had happened was I had my high beams on because one of my low beams didn't work, and they saw the high beams, and that's why they stopped me. And they gave me a ticket when they checked my low beams. They gave me a ticket for $150 for my life, and that one I had to pay. So those 3 states, Pennsylvania Trucker knows well, that those 3 states are the 3 worst states to drive through in the United States. So let's say hello to 222 Fox and Michael McFarland. Thank you. Welcome to the machine. 222 Fox and I went snorkeling. We went out for a great pizza dinner at Giuseppe's Pizza in Alona Beach this week. And 222 Fox paid for the entire dinner. Him and his girlfriend from Manila and myself, we had a really excellent dinner at Giuseppe's Pizza, which is 1 kilometer outside of Alona Beach on the way to On the way to Tagbilaran from McDonald's, on the left-hand side, 1 kilometer up the road, is the best pizza you'll ever find. It's better than New York pizza, and it's actually in the Philippines. Now, there is a pizzeria right across the street from McDonald's. I wouldn't even waste my time or my money in that place. Got the same names of the same pies. They might even be cousins or friends, but the food are 2 different kinds of foods. Ninla. Who are you, Ninla? Let's see what we have. View deleted message. I don't know anything about the new Scooby-Doo movie. I don't actually, I don't watch cartoons. Wisconsin is no picnic. Love to write tickets. Now, I don't know or remember ever being in Wisconsin, but I'll take your word for it. So thank you for that piece of information that other people might want to pay attention to, because if it's anything like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and or Texas, God, I got to tell you, those people are they're just off the chart. And this is going back in the 90s. This is going back to the 90s. So I'm going to give you a little update on Warren Hunt and his medical condition. Okay, I have not, for those of you who do get my mail with the daily updates, 3 things. One, I've been real busy with going to the Lona Beach proper with 222 Fox, and another subscriber who I won't mention, and doing some walk-arounds, and I met some people also in Tagbilaran whose names they don't want mentioned. So I've been a little bit busy with that. And also, I wasn't able to get in touch with Warren for 6 days. I think it was 6 or 7 days, going on 6 or 7 days. And I was wondering if he was actually alive, or maybe I did something or said something or posted something that he was upset about. But yesterday, I got a message, an email from his email, direct personal email, saying that Warren has been in an ICU unit for the last, he's been in an ICU unit. He didn't say how many days he was in there, and that means intensive care unit. So he was not able to post any information for me, and I didn't know what to say. So pretty much I said I haven't been in touch with Warren. So he did say he was going to get in touch with me today, and I do have my Skype on. Hopefully he'll come on while I'm doing this live stream. So those are the things that I wanted to get off my chest. Plus, a special guest of Pennsylvania trucker. First time that he's made a comment on my page, probably in 6 or 7 months. So thanks for stopping by, PA Trucker. A working man, a man who drives a truck, a man who knows what it's like to get out in a blizzard snowstorm and snatch down or, make chains tighter or straps tighter. He's a trucker. I mean, he's a hardworking man. And you have no idea what it's like working over the road. I never drove a tractor trailer. I did get my 7 stamps for a tractor trailer, and I got my hazmat, I got my air brakes, I got my chemical tag. I also got the radiation tag to move radioactive materials. There was I had a doubles tag, I had a triples tag, and then there was one other tag. There were 7 tags I got from my tractor trailer license, but I never drove a truck commercially. But I did have all 7 tags. And Pennsylvania trucker Scott says, driving a big rig is no job for a sissy. In weather, facing danger, and have to deal with people trying to prey on drivers constantly. Yeah, that's a side issue with driving the truck. Not only do you have to drive the truck, but if you have an open rig in the back, you got to keep snatching down the straps, and then after it rains, you got to check your load again. And if it's raining or snowing or sleeting, you still have to check your load, because the straps have a tendency to loosen up. The binders loosen up. the nylon binding straps loosen up a little bit when it gets wet. And plus, when you pull into a truck stop, you got all kinds of people trying to do all kinds of things, sell you stuff. Ladies of the night, men of the night. You got people knocking on your door trying to borrow money from you and stuff like that. and then you got the fact that when you haven't taken a bath or a shower for 2 or 3 days, and you know that you smell because you can smell you, and you go into a truck stop and you pay $10 for a shower. I did 30,000 miles on the road back in 90 and 93. You want to just stay underneath that hot water for as long as you possibly can. You don't ever want to come out of that shower after being on the road for 2 or 3 days. You wash your clothes, you wash your socks, you have your soap. That's another aspect of going over the road that no one really knows. And you're in a locker room with a bunch of strange men. But the biggest thing that I found to be annoying when I was on the road is that you pull into a truck stop and and you have something to eat. You see these $9.99, T-bone steak specials, and the T-bone steak's about 3/8 of an inch thick with a little bit of mashed potatoes. But nobody in the diner talks to you. Like, nobody will say hello to, and none of the truckers, they didn't say anything to me. Now, I guess if you go to the same place all the time, but you're pretty much alone when you're on the road. I don't know how it is for PA trucker. So let's see. Welcome to the machine, Big Kevin. If you are Big Kevin, welcome to the machine. A nice hot shower is nice. I'm not sure if you're Big Kevin. Let's go check this out. So, yeah, that was one of the strangest things, sitting in a diner. You're not Big Kevin. That was one of the strangest things, but you're welcome to the machine anyway, Big Kevin Imposter. So that was one of the strangest things, sitting in a diner where no one would say hello to you. The shower thing you could understand because you're taking a shower with a bunch of strange men. But in a diner, you figured that people would talk to you. You could say hello to them, and they just look at you like you're a piece of wood. So that's it's a tough way to make a living. And give a big shout out to PA Trucker for his manly skills. No doubt about that. He's a man's man. Unlike some of the people on YouTube that just run their mouth and are crying like one sponge crying in the wilderness, unlike my brother Jim, who never complained about his city/state job for New York State, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey Port Authority. My brother Jim, is a real man also. He worked for the state of New York / Pennsylvania and New Jersey Port Authority. And he had some of the crummiest jobs that you ever would want to know about for the first 10 or 15 years of his tenure for the state. And I owned a barge and crane service at the time. This is going back into the 90s. And he would come home telling me that he had a power wash the inside of the septic tanks in certain facilities. I mean, so he's inside a tank with a power washer after they pumped it out, power washing the walls down, because apparently they had to do stuff like that. He never complained, but he worked with a guy named Jimmy. He used to call him Jimmy the Sponge. Jimmy the Sponge was he was always crying about something. He was either crying about that he had to go in the tank with my brother Jim, or that he had to do this job and he had to do that job, and they didn't have a proper respirator. And, these are all jobs that 10 years prior, in the early 1980s, people just walked into a septic tank with a pair of sneakers on. And Michael McFarland is in the Well, send your telephone number, your Globe telephone number, Michael McFarland. Send your Globe telephone number on a video of mine, and I'll call you. But it's got to be a Globe number, GLOBE, Globe cell number. Got to be a Globe number, and I'll give you a call. We'll get together for tonight after the show if you want. So my brother was the kind of guy that never complained about his state job because he had all the bennies of a state job and he knew he was going to get a great retirement. But Jimmy the Sponge, man, he was another story altogether. He was always scamming the system every which way. One of the scams that Jimmy tried to pull was he was unloading a truck one day and he started limping and said he twisted his back. So that case went before the hearing board, and the doctors couldn't find anything wrong with Jimmy's back, and he was feigning, a fake injury. And what eventually happened is that he sued them for millions of dollars, the idiot, thinking he was going to get millions of dollars. He was just unloading non-essentials from the back of a truck. And he went into this lawsuit looking for multiple millions. And what the state of New York eventually did was they offered him, apparently Jimmy the Sponge was in great debt because he had bought a houseboat, and his houseboat was behind in the mortgage payments. And because I had a mortgage on my boat, and let me tell you something: if you have a mortgage on a house or a boat, and there was a storm, my boat insurance went from $700 a year to $1,700 a year in the year 2003 when we had a storm. The next year, I paid the $1,700. The next year went to $3,400, and I had $22,000 left on my mortgage payment, and I didn't pay the $3,400. I just went in and paid the $22,000 off on the loan. So, because I paid $1,700 the first year. The third year I had the boat, it went up to $3,400. So I paid off the mortgage, and so instead of paying $3,400, I saved $3,400, and of course I took $22,000 out of my bank account in change. Had I not paid that $3,400 the following year, in 2005, we had Hurricane Katrina, I think it was. My boat insurance would have been $5,000 US. So 5 and 3/4 would have been $8,000 I threw away if I didn't have the money. And without the boat insurance, you can't use the boat. They revoked the registration. So Jimmy the Sponge, he had a house and he had a mortgage on his boat, and he tried to scam them. I think he needed $8,000 or $10,000 to pay off his loan. And somehow or another, one of the auditors for the state found out how much money he actually needed to pay off his boat loan. And they made him an offer for that much money and a few thousand more. And Jimmy the Sponge took the settlement and worked for the state for a few more years. And then eventually what happened, Jimmy the Sponge was a scammer from the word go. He was always, he had a truck with a pressure washer on the back of the truck. So the truck had a gas card for the truck gas card, and the pressure washer part of the truck had a separate gas card for the pressure washer. Now, it was a 16-horse pressure washer because it was a commercial pressure washer with 150-foot of hose on it, and but it only had a 3-gallon tank. But Jimmy the Sponge would take a 5-gallon bucket, 5-gallon gas can, and for the pressure washer truck, and fill that up. And then he would fill up the pressure washer. So we had enough gas for the day, but then he would take the truck home during the course of the day and empty out the 5-gallon can. So what happened was they caught him taking the gas. He was stealing the gas, but they couldn't prove which gas he was stealing because he had whatever he did. They couldn't prove he was stealing the gas, but they knew that Jimmy the Sponge was stealing the gas. So he was put on record for taking the gas. And then there was some psychological problems with Jimmy the Sponge. And one of the psychological problems that Jimmy the Sponge had, this is according to my brother, so this is third-party information, but he was a germaphobe, and he didn't like going into the septic tanks themselves. He didn't like going into the tanks, and he didn't like power washing anything that had fecal tissue or matter on it. And me personally, I've climbed into many a septic tank as bigger than the house I live in here, for sure. Some of them were 16 by 32 with 3 sets of baffles in it, and the solids at the bottom of the tank were, as 12, 14, 18 inches thick. And you'd jump into one of those tanks, you'd climb in through a hatch, they'd put some ventilators down into the tank, and the solids we would have to shovel out into buckets, and they would bucket it out of the tank. That was my job when I worked for Windy Day Plumbing. I didn't have a problem with that. My brother didn't have a problem with it either, my brother Jim. But Jimmy the Sponge, he had this germaphobe thing where he thought he was going to die every time he breathed in any kind of matter. So, Scott Del Fuego, we're going to sing. Jimmy the Sponge he was a germaphobe, and he also had some other idiosyncrasies that we're going to talk about after we sing. So let's sing. Scott Del Fuego, he's showing a little bit of Merry Christmas, Ta'i. So thank you very much, Scott Del Fuego, from Michael Fazio and Daisy May, who by the way, did send out my belt. I sent her 3,000 pesos the other day. She said I might receive it today or Monday. So thanks very much for your most generous donation, Scott Del Fuego. So digressing back to Jimmy the Sponge. Okay, this guy had more scams going than any other state worker that anybody ever knew. Now, aside from the fact that nobody liked Jimmy the Sponge. Nobody liked him. The supervisors didn't like him because he was always complaining about something. Every day it was a different complaint. The workers didn't like him, which was why he was put on a pressure washing truck. And the only person that would work with him was my brother, Jim, because my brother, it was the easiest job to do because no one else wanted to do it. And you could take your time. You could spend 2 or 3 days pressure washing the inside of a bathroom or the septic facilities, that kind of thing. So anyway, Jimmy the Sponge was on a job one day, and they had access to the accessories room. And in the accessories room, they had the soap, and they had the toilet paper, and they had cleaning sponges and cleaning solutions and things like that. And after they pressure washed everything down, they had to wash it down with water. But if you didn't, in the bathroom itself, everything had to be washed down with a bleach solution. There was chlorine, bottles of chlorine. So what Jimmy the Sponge did was he put like 2 boxes of toilet paper, state-issued toilet paper, which was like a very cheap toilet paper. He put a couple of boxes in his truck with the soaps and stuff like that. And one of the state inspectors that just by chance came by to look found that Jimmy the Sponge had a couple of cases of toilet paper and toiletries and stuff in his truck. So they questioned Jimmy because this is a guy that no one likes. Okay, let's just clear this up. The only person that would work with him was my brother, but nobody liked this guy. So he got away with that in the sense that he said that the building that they cleaned beforehand didn't have any toilet paper in the accessories room. And then the inspector went there and realized there was only like a few dozen rolls of toilet paper. But Jimmy had taken 2 cases, which was uncalled for. So he got a notice for possible theft in interdepartmental private notice. He was always scamming the system. There was some kind of scam going on with Jimmy the Sponge. He was an amazing man. How he got away with it so long, no one really knows. But eventually, even my brother wouldn't work with him. So he had to work alone. And what happened one day was not a tragic accident, but it could have been very tragic. So when you're working with a bunch of men and there's a lot of equipment and things that are on forklifts and pallets and stuff like that, you can have an accident. So the men in general decided no one liked this man. Okay, so you really have to watch your back when no one likes you, because a guy with a forklift can back up over you, or something could fall on you, something like that. And that happened a few times to Jimmy the Sponge, that near misses, let's put it like that. And no one intentionally wanted to hurt him, but they wanted to make him aware that he could be in danger if he kept messing with people's jobs, making interdepartmental complaints, complaining about this, complaining about the weather, complaining about not having the proper attire when everybody else went out with the same type of stuff. He was just always complaining about something. He never stopped complaining. So what happened was somebody was operating a forklift, and the pallet fell off next to Jimmy the Sponge. And the guy went, oops, sorry. Now, in the Dock Builders Union, where I worked in the union for a very short period of time, only while I rented my equipment to the Dock Builders Union did I get a card for a couple of years. If the crane operator didn't like you, you might as well just quit your job, because crane accidents, when a guy's picking up 60 tons of material in a bucket, 60-yard bucket, he can drop that mud on top of you and just say he didn't see you. And he really wouldn't see you. If you were behind the bucket, it was a 60-yard bucket. It would fit 2 school buses in the bucket. And he could just say, I didn't see him in the mud. What happened? We don't even know what happened to him. He's gone. So you really got to be careful when no one likes you. And that's what happened to Jimmy the Sponge. He eventually had to quit working for the state, and he went out on, he retired early. And that was probably 18 or 20 years ago. But he had a bunch of other nicknames too. There was Jimmy the Chiseler and Jimmy the Sponge were the 2 most famous names that he went by. And let's see. So I have some more notes that are pretty much short. Now my brother retires in a couple of years, and he'll retire after it's going to be 35 years, but he was out for 3 years on disability, 3.5 years. So it's almost 35 years that he's been working for the state of New York and Port Authority. So he has a nice job now, and he's going to retire with a stupid pension. God, he's going to retire with a stupid pension, and more money than he ever made. What happens when you work for the state or the government is the last 3 years of your work, they allow you to put in as much overtime as possible. Anything you want. If you want to work New Year's, Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, 4th of July, it's triple time. It's triple time if it's on a Sunday, okay? And sometimes it's triple time if it's on any weekend day. So instead of making, I won't tell you what he makes, but to make upwards of $1,000 a day is not a problem when you're working holidays. So he's going to be making stupid money for his retirement. Whereas Jimmy the Sponge, who retired early, is pulling down about $600 or $700 a year. A month. My brother will probably be taking in closer to $3,800 to $4,200 a month on his pension. So that's, of course, in about a year and a half from now, unless things change between now and then. He could go early. He can retire anytime. But either way, he'll be done with that soon. And in between now and then, we're going to sell the house, and then I'll be building the hotel. That'll be another, I'll do a blog on that shortly. So I also want to make note that the new rules of YouTube have gone into effect. And if you'll notice that, I have calmed down a little bit, but not much, but a little bit. And I want to thank my patrons. First of all, I got 2 new Patreon members this week, so I want to talk about that. One Patreon member is Gary from the Philippines Experience. He became a member of my Patreon account for $100 a month. Okay, $100 a month. Now, once before, a couple of years ago, Gary just super chatted me $175 in one day. But I don't know how many months he'll be a member of my Patreon account, but he's a new member of my Patreon account. And there's a fellow named John Escape who became a new member of my Patreon account. 2 members this week. John Escape became a $50 pledge per month on Patreon. Yeah, that was very nice of him. They're right about that, Scott. It pays to be friends with certain people and that have real jobs. And so that's John Escape, $50 a month pledge to my Patreon, and Gary, $100 a month. So yeah, my Philippines interest, money. So that's one of the notes I wanted to make. Also want to talk to you about how much, I don't know why, but my earnings per diem on YouTube have tripled in the last 2 weeks since these new rules went into effect. I don't know why. I thought my earnings would go down, but actually some of my videos were demonetized like everybody else's, but my earnings literally physically tripled on a daily per diem basis. The earnings tripled. I won't tell you how much they are, but on YouTube, including Super Chat and AdSense, we have a grand total of very close to 25,000 pesos per month. So thank you very much, everybody, for your most generous donations for myself, of course, and Daisy Mae with the Super Chats. And for people that are watching my videos, I'm not getting a whole lot more people watching my videos, but I'm getting a whole lot more money, and I can't figure it out. I'm not real good with these stats, but I looked at my daily earnings from 2 months ago, and it was an X amount of money, and now it's 3 times that amount of money on average every day, and plus, so 3,000. And of course, besides the 25,000 pesos a month on YouTube and or the AdSense, of course, I have my Patreon account, which is also very beneficial. And almost equals that. Not quite, but half that for sure. A little bit more than half, maybe 3/4 of that. So things are good here on YouTube. I want to thank all my subscribers and my Patreon members, especially Scott Del Fuego. Do you know that Scott Del Fuego has been a member of my Patreon account? Last month, I got a notice that Scott Del Fuego has been a 2-year member on my Patreon account. He's one of my first subscribers. And I did get a notice. I didn't see the notice for a few weeks, but thank you very much, Scott. Thank you. You have helped the cause because you people want to see my videos and what I do for a living. Even though I have been accused of being an e-beggar, disclaimer, I have never e-begged. Now, I have been accused of that, but with the caveat, when I do a show and people offer to send me money, I will accept it gladly. But I have never come on to the YouTube. The people, disclaimer, that call me an e-beggar can never show even 1 minute of proof that I asked for money. Never. Now, what I do is I bang a pot, I make a lot. And I do have the ability to take this piece of plastic and pour water into it and make money. But that's part of what is called a show on YouTube. And YouTube was originally devised so that people could express themselves. Now, if I have the ability to express myself where someone decides to send money because I make them laugh, or I make them cry, or I make them think, or instead of going to a movie, they come and watch my show, that's just part of the YouTube show. But it's not e-begging. I certainly have never said I need money for food, okay? And I probably will never have to do that because very soon, retire or no, we're selling the house in New York. The house is being renovated right now. We did have a legal extension put on the house, but we put a stove in there and we put a bathtub where it wasn't supposed to be a bathtub, wasn't supposed to be a shower. But, you know, it's a mother and daughter. And we have to remove the bathtub and the kitchen sink. We have to remove the stove. We have to close up a picture window that we put in the house that was not part of the original plan. Got to do some work in the house. But I think within the next few months, the house will be going on the market. So then when that sells, I'll be finishing the hotel. There won't be a long period of time from the time the house sells to the time the hotel is done. I'm thinking in under a year, we could have the entire hotel built to the top 4th floor. And probably less than that, but I'm going to have to put a crew together myself. Which brings me to another point. Now, I have heard stories that all I do is show people a few household tools, and that I think I'm a contractor because I show people a few household tools. What is going on inside those people's minds, I don't know. Because if you Google Michael Fazio's Real Jobs, you're going to come to pages and pages and pages of videos of my Bobcat service, my backhoe service, my crane service, my barge service, my pile driving barge service, my land crane barge service in New York. You're going to come to pages of videos. Now, if you think a crane barge that weighs 188 tons, has 13 hydraulic systems and 11 diesel and gasoline motors, and I maintain all of that equipment. If you think that's a household tool, well, I just think you're a tool, period. Okay? Okay, so that is one job I had. Then I owned a backhoe service, and I did all the repairs on the backhoe, the Bobcat, and the dump truck. So that's a household tool, a backhoe. $185,000 backhoe is a household tool. I don't know what you people are smoking, but it's certainly not tobacco, because a backhoe doesn't happen to be a household tool. And that I show you how to build a ladder or something like that, that's not a household tool either. We use skill saws, chainsaws, drills, all commercial grade Milwaukee tools and equipment. How do you decipher owning a crane and barge, a backhoe, a Bobcat, a dump truck, and all kinds of commercial heavy equipment? How do you decipher that to be a household tool? Something is wrong with those people that say things like that. And of course, there is something wrong with people that say that. Anybody that says that all I do is show household tools, just Google Michael Fazio's Real Job, and you're going to come to see barges, cranes, tugboats, pile driving units, backhoes, bobcats, dump trucks. I mean, those are household tools. Something is wrong with those people inside their head. So, and which reminds me, there was something I forgot to talk about Jimmy the Sponge. I know it's a phony Philippines fraud. I know that. I understand that. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I already looked. Yes, sir. Well worth it. Scott is talking about his donation to my Patreon account. Yes, sir. Well worth it. And my recommendation is everyone should join it and see the great videos, information, and comedy presented therein. Okay, so I put videos on Patreon at different levels. Once you move over the $10 level pledge a month, you get to see most of my videos, but at the $20 level or above, you get to see them all. Very few videos have been reserved for the $50 and $100 level. They might be something really personal, like where I attend Christmas and New Year's and the fiesta, what houses. I won't put those people in at the $10 level, their houses or their faces. In fact, they don't want their faces on YouTube at all. So they know I put it on my Patreon account, but they don't want to be on YouTube. And that's the way it stays. I have 2 videos I loaded. 200 people were at a birthday party a short time ago. And of the 200 people that were at the party, the owner of the house and the birthday boy, I was in the living room sitting down talking to a friend of mine named Elmer, and his daughter Alla, Alla, and they had a son, John, and another son. I forgot the little boy's name. He was about 12 years old. And I was sitting down, and the mother of the birthday boy and the birthday boy, and then these are talking about men now, and an older woman, came to where I was sitting down. They grabbed me by the elbow and walked me over to a 42-kilo lechon, roasted pig, and gave me the knife so I would have first cut. Now, that was quite the privilege, okay? That video will only be seen probably because their faces are in the video. They don't want their faces in the video, but that video will only be seen by a select few people. And those loaded up this week, but I didn't get to post them. I was going to post them with the Warren Hunt medical update, And being that I didn't hear from him for 6 days, I didn't post them. So my select group, few friends that get those updates, you'll have those videos, and it'll just be for the dozen or so people that get those updates. So there was something else I wanted to talk about, Jimmy the Sponge. I got to go back to my notes. I wanted to talk about T-shirt sales. These vertical lip T-shirt sales. As you well know, I know this sounds crazy, but what I did was I ordered a 40-foot tractor trailer truck of vertical lip T-shirts from everything from the infant size to 5X. Okay. Altogether, I bought 217,000 pairs of shirts with matching glasses. So I have that truck now at the bottom of the hill in Alona Beach, and I have several people selling T-shirts and sunglasses. One T-shirt like this, and one pair of sunglasses are $199. And if you buy two, I give you the cutthroat. Excuse me, not the cutthroat. I give you the cut rate discount, 5% discount. If you buy two sets, it would be. And so instead of being $400 or $398, okay, you get 4% off on the second set. So that's an additional $4 off. So it goes from $398 to $394 for two sets of sunglasses and two shirts, any size shirt. They're all the same. Now, if you buy three sets, on the third set, you get a 10% discount. So you're talking about from $394, and the third set should be $594, $694, $693. You take off another $19 off of $693, and you're talking $683. You're talking $680, $674. $674. Only $674 for three sets of sunglasses and three T-shirts. Okay, so if my math is correct, if you buy three sets, but you don't get that 10% discount on all three sets. The first set is you pay full price. The second set, you get a 5% discount, 4% discount. And the third set, you get a 10% discount. So I think it's $674 if someone wants to do the math. But we might as well just round it out to $675 for three sets. And I'm going to tell you that the T-shirt sales are up 113,000% from 2 months ago. Because 2 months ago, I just had a few T-shirts in my inventory, but now I have 217,000. I think I sold 32,000 shirts last week, and 32,000 shirts and pairs of sunglasses times 200, 10 times 200 would be 2,000. 1,000 would be 200,000. 600. I did about $670,000 in T-shirt sales last week since I put the truck down in Alona Beach. I have another $2 million worth of inventory, and I think I'm probably going to have to. Well, come New Year's, I don't think I'll have any shirts left by New Year's. I'll do about $2,700,000 this month in T-shirt sales, and then I'm going to let everybody take a break until Easter. Then I'll order another truck around Easter because that's the next tourist season. So I'll do $2,700,000 in T-shirt sales and sunglasses. Now the sunglasses, I got to tell you, the sunglasses cost me $5. So these are not cheap sunglasses. And the shirts were very expensive. The shirts were $23 per shirt, and I had to buy those shirts, and that was bulk rate, $23 a shirt. But these are these are printed shirts. These are not emblems. So these are good quality shirts. This shirt's been washed about 40 times, and it still has maintaining its integrity. I know what I wanted to talk about. As soon as I'm going to put the aircon on for a minute, and then I'm going to go back to my new computer. That's what I wanted to talk about. Even though I made all that money with the t-shirt sales, Warren knows all about the t-shirt sales and the profit. I'm pretty sure that computer is going to be sent soon from Australia. I'm not sure if it was sent because Warren was in the hospital, but I am getting a brand new Hewlett Packard X360 with, it's got the 0.5 terabyte internal solid state drive with a touch screen, but it's got all the doodads in it. All the doodads. It's a $2,500 computer. So that I should have that soon. I don't know when it's coming. I don't know that Warren got it in the mail yet, but I do know that one of the last things that Warren and I talked about is he was working on getting that to me. Now, of course, Warren has been in the intensive care unit, so if it doesn't come right away or if it doesn't come ever, I'm going to have to understand that, and I would. But that was the last thing. So I don't know if it's on its way or it didn't get put out and Warren went into intensive care. We'll find out about that when next I speak with Warren. But I wanted to get back to Jimmy the Sponge. Okay, so one of the things that Jimmy the Sponge wanted, this is going back almost 18 years. Okay, so in the year 2000, 2001, Jimmy wanted to buy a computer. And I told you he got pinched with 2 cases of toilet paper. But apparently, that was not his only toilet paper theft from the state of New York and New Jersey. But what happened next is a little bit weird. What happened to Jimmy next? So we'll talk about that as soon as I read the comments. Right, Scott Del Franco. That's right, Scott. The professional tools I own are so complex. You need major professional tools just to maintain them. That's about right. For the man or people or women or YouTubers that say that I don't know anything about tools or I just exemplify, some basic tools, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not going to brag about my tools, but one thing that I will tell you is that I need tools to fix my equipment in America. Okay, so John Boone Bean, welcome to the machine. Thank you for stopping by. Ads that get seen from the Philippines be a lower pay than that seen from an outer Western country to be. That's right, John. The Philippines, you don't make much money on the ads at all. I make a lot more money from United States. I don't pay attention to that stuff, John. I really don't pay attention to that. How much money I make on the ads, it adds up to be quite a bit at the end of the month. So, and it's free money. I mean, all I do is sit here and have fun. And it's raining out today, and I'm waiting for my belt to come from Davao, so I can't leave the house today anyway. So I already made $1 plus whatever this live stream will bring in. Plus, don't forget my shirt sales. My shirt sales are up 113,000% from 2 months ago. So I sold 32,000 shirts this week. Did 600,000 in shirt sales, 600,000 US dollars, not pesos, 600,000 $600,000 plus in shirt sales only. That's why I'm sitting here relaxing right now, because I'm sitting pretty. So I know that there are people out there eating their heart out that they haven't created a shirt that's selling like hotcakes on Alona Beach. But anyway, you can go see the truck if you want to go see the truck. It's down there at the bottom. It says Michael Fazio on the side of the truck, and it says Vertical Lip T-shirts right under Michael Fazio. And the truck is painted pink with a giant pair of vertical lips before the name Michael Fazio and after the name Michael Fazio. And of course, everyone knows what vertical lip stands for. Vertical lips stands for lips that are vertical like this, vertical lips. And those lips stand for the ability to lie fast. Because if you're lying through your teeth this way, your teeth can only go like this and like that. But if you have vertical lip, and this is like, you could lie about 5, 6, 7 lies a minute, but vertical lip, lies per minute, no problem. What? That was 1,000 lies. This is 7 lies per minute. So vertical lips, it pays to have a vertical. Now the shirts themselves don't lie, but what happens is, let me tell you what happened. I don't have a pair of. I gave my pair of red sunglasses to the truck driver because we were a little bit short on sunglasses, and I got another 75,000 pairs of sunglasses on order, but I gave them my sunglasses so that they could sell those if we run out of shirts. So the sunglasses that come with the shirts are reddish in color, and what the sunglasses do is the sunglasses allow you, me, if I put these, that's a special lens. I can look at you with the sunglasses that are going with the shirts, and I can know if you're lying. It's a psychic thing. These are very special red lenses that, like a infrared, they can tell inside your brain if you are lying or not. So these sunglasses, that's why they're very expensive. I pay $5 for each pair. That's why $5 for the sunglasses and $23 for the shirts. That's $28. That's why I have to charge $199, because I have a big investment. I mean, we're talking $28 for the shirt and the sunglasses, right? Less $199, that'd be $191, less 20, $181. It's only $171 profit per shirt order with the sunglasses, and you can't buy them separately. They're not sold separate. It's a package deal. So I'm not making a lot of money. $171 per shirt per order. You got to figure, if I have 217,000 shirts, what does that come out to? Just a few $1 million. It's not a lot of money. But then again, it's a few $1 million for the month of December, and then of course we have some straggle months between the end of January and then Easter again. I get another truckload to do 5 million this year in shirt sales. I estimated 5 million profit, not 5 million gross. Okay, so Scott Del Fuego says, jealousy trying to discredit because they know they can never do what you can do. That's right. There is nobody on YouTube, bar none. Nobody can do what I do. Not a single person on YouTube. Nobody. Only person that comes close is One Lonely Farmer. Now, he can fix farm equipment way better than, I could, but then again, if I put him inside a crane, I'm sure he could fix a crane as well as I can too. And I am absolutely certain he can do 95% of everything I do as well as I do. But I cannot run farm equipment like he does, and he cannot run live boom, live wire cranes like I do. So is there anybody that can do what I do on YouTube? I do a few things that One Lonely Farmer doesn't do, but of course he runs farm equipment that I wouldn't even know what to do with if he gave it to me. So he comes close to doing what I do and or what I've done. He never had he doesn't know how to operate an ocean racer because he's never had one. And I don't know how to operate a tractor baling hay because I've never had one. So I guess as far as skill sets are concerned, he's probably the closest person I've ever seen to do it. But I can operate any kind of any construction equipment, and so could One Lonely Farmer, except that operating live wire, live boom cranes on the ocean in rough sea, a little bit dangerous. The barge is going one way, the boom is going another, the load wants to go a third way. There are men underneath you. You can't forget to keep, if you dog off your brakes and you don't dog them properly, or something goes wrong when you dog off your brakes, you can't never leave the cab while you have the machine running and a load up in the air. If you boom vertical and you got a load and the barge rolls from a wave, the boom could go backwards unless you're stiff leg on the boom. You got a lot of stuff that could go wrong out on the ocean. I don't think there's only just any of the men I work with in marine construction could do what I do, but not all of them had ocean races or Cobra Mustangs. Oh yeah, I'm an e-bagger, right? I forgot. I'm a lowly e-bagger that bought a brand new Cobra Mustang right out of the showroom. And a brand new Caterpillar 428B. Go look it up. Caterpillar 428B. The basic price of a Caterpillar 428B is now, then it was about $100,000. Add an extender hoe, add $20,000, $120,000. Add four-wheel drive, another $20,000. That's $140,000. What else did that thing have? It had hydraulics. It had hydraulics, extra hydraulics for the open and close the clamshell bucket, but I didn't have the clamshell bucket on there, and also extra hydraulics for a hydraulic hammer. So from the factory, it was $168,000. But I bought it used, but that's what the machine cost new. And my machine was brand new when I bought it. But it was used, but it was brand new. Had a few hundred hours on it. So yeah, I guess I just had household tools. Yeah, and I'm an e-bagger. Yep, I had to beg for money for food when I was in New York. Actually, New York was very, very good to me. But moving past that, they could never do what I do. The heck of a deal. Vertical lip T-shirts and sunglasses don't grow on trees, baby. That's right. You go look for a vertical lip T-shirt tree with red sunglasses, not going to find that, buddy. All right. Scott Del Fuegos says there is an order from the military of the unarmed nation, 11,000 shirt and glass sets in various sizes. I didn't want to tell them about that, but the beans have been spilled. For Christmas, a certain branch of the military ordered 11,000 shirts. So I just thank you very much. Armed Services of America. Salamat. Yep, the earth is flat, buddy. There's no doubt about it. Tanner Chop, there's no doubt in my mind that the earth is flat. And that's why we call this Flat Earth Comedy, because I laugh at the people that think the earth is round. All right, so Scott Del Fuego has a link here. Let's see what that link is.
First thing you do when you get up out of bed is get that street running, try to meet the masses, bust up some cheap sunglasses. That was sweet as molasses. What really knocked me out was the cheap sunglasses.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Get yourself some big black frames with the glass so dark they won't even know your name.
Some shades of cheap sunglasses.
Yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Ah, cheap sunglasses, baby. Cheap sunglasses. Yeah, baby. Cheap sunglasses. Look at this. I got my hat on backwards. Cheap sunglasses. But these sunglasses cost more than $5. These were $7.50. That's the next level of sunglasses. So let's get back to my live stream, see what we got going here. We lost, hold on a minute. We, when I...
Personal vendetta.
Where the heck are we? We lost my whole channel. Where the heck are we? We're in like Zulu land here. Hold on a minute. I got to get back to my home page. Yep, here we go. Scott. That was a good link, Scott. Thank you very much. I'll tell you a story about ZZ Top, and I'll tell you a true story about ZZ Top, too. Okay.
And I'll tell you a true story about ZZ Top, too.
No joke. Okay. I want to tell you a story about ZZ Top. Okay, so I won't tell you. I won't tell you what the guy did for a living, because that's totally off the chart. That's not possible to tell you what he did for a living. I know he's already. Let's see, how old would he be now? I was 21. He was 35, so he would be 14. He'd be 78 years old. He wouldn't be flying to the Philippines to talk to me if I told you what he did, but somebody else might. So we're not going to tell you what he did. But I will tell you this. I had a friend of mine. Let's see who did. This is, we have a fake Philippines interest here. My Philippines interest. Let's see. Of course, he's a fraud, right? It's a fraudulent My Philippines interest account. Of course, he wouldn't show his face in real life. Fraud. A fraudulent. Imagine having a fraudulent My Philippines interest account. How apropos. So, I can't see. Cheap sunglasses, baby. These are cheap sunglasses. But they do come with lenses. I got the lenses. I had the lenses. I had the lens. I have one lens. I have one. Then that's why we call them cheap sunglasses. But these bad boys are $7. The ones I have on were only $5. They're like the red sunglasses I sell with the shirt. And let's get back to the great Scott Del Fuego. Did punch up a good. You know, I can't watch that ZZ Top video without thinking, okay, so it's the early 1980s, and I just finished building a custom staircase, railings, garage doors, front door. I did about, I don't know, $50,000 worth of work. I built a 14-foot deck by 38 feet long, and then I built a dock system with a catwalk hanging out over the water. So I guess I did about $50,000 in business for this guy, who there was the third house I refurbished for him. We were getting ready to do the bathrooms and the kitchens next, but we did the outside stuff. So he bought a big screen TV, one of those ones with the projectors inside, and the people that were in the house were the people they really made the real Italian movies about in the 1980s. The people that were running the Italian, one of the Italian families, the entire family was in the house. And they were watching ZZ Top. And my friend, who I did the housework for, of course, I was invited to the party. I lived in the house for a year while I did the work. My men came to the house. I stayed in the house most of the time, and free food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And anywhere he went, I went, if I wanted to. So we're inside the living room of the house, and all these people started coming in. It was the whole family. And he puts on ZZ Top, and I'm going, I can't believe this guy's watching ZZ Top. This is a very powerful guy. And he was going, look at these guys. He was looking at ZZ Top. He's going, look at these guys. They stand there and they go like this. and they make as much money as we do. That was pretty much what he said. And that was pretty much the truth. But they make, I mean, these guys were making a lot of money. One of the guys at that party was the guy, the man. He was making $81,000 a day in 1984, 85, like that. 81,000 a day was coming in. That's how much they were. And the other guys were all backing him up. So, but my friend, who just was a few guys down from the top, he was making a lot of money. He was making $10,000 a day selling used and stolen auto parts. That's what we used to call them, used and stolen. You could put a car. I need a set of doors for anything. I need a set of doors for anything. The right side clip. I need a front clip. I need a back clip. I need a Lexus. Oh, not a problem. We got a Lexus. We know exactly. And anyway, these guys were there, and they were watching this, and they were listening to him say, "Look, this guy. These people are making hundreds of thousands of dollars." And the one guy said, "I make 81,000 a day." He's going, "Yeah, but that's you. That's not us." So those guys were up on stage, and they were watching a ZZ Top concert. Probably not live. I don't remember whether it was live or not, but they were watching. Maybe it was, what was the name of that? The Music Channel or something like that. But I never forget, some of the top echelon of the Italian families were watching ZZ Top talking about how much money they made, and as opposed to how much money those guys made for going like this on a guitar, and they didn't have to risk their life or risk going to jail for 275 years. I thought that was funny as all get out. Thanks for the link, Scott. Wheeled skeptic. Large bodies of water inside a container at rest always find air flat and level. That's true. Why is the government claims we live on a pressurized ball spinning through an infinite vacuum of space without a physical barrier? Why is it that? Because they lie. They're liars. They're vertical lip liars. The government is a vertical lip entity. They lie. They lie. They lie with their vertical lips. They lie. Liar. 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 The government lies, baby. Not as much as the vertical lip guy lies, but, oh, that would be me. I'm the vertical lip guy. Am I lying to you? You don't know. You don't know. The government lies. Do I think 50 years ago man walked on the moon? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Nobody ever walked on the moon. The moon may not even be there. It might be just a gaseous cloud. Well, no, it's there, but it's not what people think it is. So, so who is the? Of course, it is distilled water with a Chincha star anise. That's right. This is distilled water, and it has star anise in it. I'll show you. I put a chemical. I put a spice called star anise. I'll just show it to you. Mix it simple. Star anise. STAR anise. And I put it in the bottle. I put it in these gallon jugs, 2-gallon jugs, 3-gallon jugs. So I take a big jug like this. I mean, I gotta look at the screen so I can see what I'm showing you. Okay, so this is the bottom of the jug. You see that big, looks like a star, right? That's why they call it star anise. And there is probably about 30 of them in this. But I don't put them all in at once. What I do is put 10 in every Sunday. I put 10 more. So the first week, however many times I fill this jug up, the flavor comes out of the first 10. But by the end of the week, I'll have drank 3 or 4 gallons of water, so it'll be weaker. The second week, I just add 10 more star anise. The third, and then I have, at all times, I have a gallon or so of them. And now I'll show you what they look like. And if it keeps the bacteria, normally there would be bacteria on the bottleneck from where you put your mouth on it. The star anise kills the bacteria, 100% gone. You could have the bottle and drink out of the bottle for 2 months, and you'll never smell a bacteria on the bottleneck if the anise is in the water. It's a natural germ fighting thing. I don't know how it works, and I discovered it by accident, but I could leave this bottle after drinking from the mouth out in the backyard for 3 months. And when I open the bottle, the neck still doesn't have bacteria and the water still doesn't have a fungus in the water. So I'll show you what the anise looks like. All right, so it's called Star, S-T-A-R, anise, A-N-I-S-E. And it comes in a bag that looks like this. This is 10 pesos. And then when you open it up, I'll show you what the anise looks like. Now, you people that think I'm kidding you, you could have water in a jar for months, and it will not get a bacteria in it. So this is, I want to find a good star. This is a good star to show you. It has 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 legs on some stars and 6 on others. Okay, there you go. That's what it looks like. And that's why they call it star anise. Now, these were 10 pesos when I bought them. And I bought, I guess I bought about 30 bags last year. But I did go to buy more this year, this week, only because I'm down to about 20 bags. And I only just went to look to see what they were. They went from 10 pesos last year to exactly 20 pesos. They doubled in price. And I got to tell you, that's 100% increase. And when you're talking about 100% increase on a 10 peso item, it's only 20 pesos. But you're still talking about 100% increase. So the cost of living in the Philippines goes up in bumps of every time they bump something up, they bump it up 10%. They don't bump up shit 2% or 3%. They bump up. The price of bread went from 23 pesos for a loaf of bread 2 years ago to 45 pesos. So it went up 100% in 2 years. The star anise went up from 10 pesos for this bag to 20 pesos. Okay, it's only 40 cents. It went from 20 cents to 40 cents, but it went up 100%. That's ridiculous. Did anybody get a double? Did anybody's salary double in the last 6 months or a year? No, nobody's salary. The price of I don't drink olive oil anymore, but I'm going to tell you what olive oil costs. For a bottle of olive oil, 5 quarts. 5 quarts. When I moved to the Philippines, a 5-liter bottle about this big. This is 6 liters, but a 5-liter bottle of olive oil, and it was virgin olive oil, was 1,200 pesos. Then it went from being virgin olive oil, it went to be virgin olive oil with crushed olive oil, the second. So the virgin olive oil is the first squeeze of the olives, and then when they crush the seeds and stuff, that's the second. So then it went to that, to where it was like 90% virgin, 10% crushed. Then it was 80% virgin and 20% crushed. Then it went from virgin olive oil and crushed olives, and it stayed around the same price, about 1,200 pesos for the 5-liter bottle, which is $25. Okay, but now it's up to over $35 for a bottle of olive oil, and it's still the crushed olives and the olives. So I think it was 1,700 pesos the last time I looked. So you're talking about the price of olive oil doubled, and you get less quality. Now, when you cook with it, it tastes like garbage. So I don't buy olive oil anymore. I bought 2 5-liter olive oils since I've been in the Philippines, because you don't use that much of it. And the last time I bought a small bottle, and it's garbage. I still have some, but it's garbage. It's not olive oil anymore. It's crushed olive oil. So the price of food in the Philippines has gone nuts. Just so that anybody cares to think about living here, and you want to think about how much it's going to cost you to live here, when they bump stuff up in price, they bump it up. They double the price of stuff. One thing that went up recently, what was the thing that went up recently that I buy? Well, there was, I'm trying to think. Noodles. Spaghetti noodles. Spaghetti noodles. You wouldn't believe how much spaghetti is here. It's 60 pesos for a pound of spaghetti. That's $1.20 a pound. Okay? Do you have any idea how much that is to a Filipino? That's 2 hours work. A Filipino has to work for 2 hours to buy 1 pound of spaghetti. And I'm going to tell you something. The spaghetti isn't worth the time it takes you to cook it. It's garbage. It's not real pasta. It's some kind of fake Filipino flour, whatever they make that from. And if you want Ronzoni spaghetti, it's 78 or 79, 80 pesos for a pound. That's $1.60. So for 90 pesos is 2 hours work for a Filipino. So that would be the equivalent of an American paying, say, $40 for a pound of spaghetti, $40. So Filipinos don't eat spaghetti, but and when I got here, Ronzoni spaghetti was about 38 pesos per pound. So it doubled in 6 years. So there's nobody's salary. There isn't a person in America or in Europe or anywhere that has a job where their salary doubled in the last 6 years. But the price of food in the Philippines has more than doubled in the last 6 years. If you think you're coming here, well, Daisy and I we spent 12,000 pesos a month for foods when we were together. 12,000 pesos a month was our food budget for the month. You could believe that, not believe it. Doesn't make a difference to me whether you believe it or not. Now, of course, that included sugar, salt, peppers, vegetables, meats, spices of whatever kind of spices that we had. But we spent on average 12,000 pesos a month, which is $240 a month for the two of us. That's what, and we ate good. Now we ate fish once a week at least. Daisy liked to have, she loved her squid, and we tried to have squid at least twice a month, and then fish every week. We had one time we had fish. Sometimes, mostly I like chicken, and Daisy enjoyed pork. But our food bill for eating in the house was 12,000 pesos a month, $240 a month. That's a lot. Now, 12,000 pesos a month is more Filipinos make. Then they have to pay their electric and their water and stuff like that. So it's not cheap living here. Not at all. So let's get back to my comments, because I'm off my comments page. I don't know why I'm off my comments page. John Escape is welcome to the machine. Thank you for stopping by, John Escape. Great show. Thank you. I did mention you before, John. John Escape. Okay, he wrote it down. Just joined Michael's Patreon member. I got a note running that John Escape became a member of my Patreon community as a $50 pledge per month. Thank you, John. Thank you. Welcome to the machine, my friend. Welcome to the machine. And of course, with that pledge, he gets to see every video. Anything that is posted, you get to see at the $50 level. Scott is saying, very generous, John Escape. Glad you can enjoy the entertainment, glean knowledge, and be part of the adventure. For sure, John Escape says. John Boonbeam, think the more you do sell, the higher the price go. Maybe more people start to put anise in the water by now. Yeah, well, John, that's it's called economics. You're right about the economics. The more they sell, the higher price they're going to charge. But the price doubled. There's no way you could. Well, gasoline was 21 pesos per liter when I moved to the Philippines in 2014, and now it's 54 pesos per liter. So that went up 2.5 times. Went up 250%. So it went from 21 pesos per liter, 54, sometimes 58 pesos per liter in the city, 54 in the province. Everything went up 2.5 times in just 6 years. John Escape, about a few months ago, I talked to John Escape about the anise, and not only did Scott Del Fuego go out and get star anise, but so did John Escape and a few other people. So, I mean, if you guys... Okay, so I put the star anise in the water, in my drinking water, but I also use that same water. All right, so the star anise is in the bottle. I just put a strainer in a funnel and then fill up the bottles with the strainer in the funnel. I'll show it to you, so it makes it simple. I have these two pieces of kitchen equipment like this, and I take the strainer. It just comes apart real easy. This one just happens to fit, so it holds the funnel. I take the strainer and the funnel, and I just put it in the bottle like that, and then I pour the water in, and then if the anise goes into the strainer, you just take it and put it back in the bottle. So this way you can have the flavored water in the bottle. Now, I use this water for drinking, and I also use this water to make coffee. Okay, because the star anise gives it, it's almost like a licorice, a little bit like a licorice flavor. It gives the coffee an additional flavor. Plus, all my water has star anise in it, so I have to use the water for the coffee because I distill it and then I put it in the bottles with the star anise in it, and then I use that for drinking. And I don't drink soda now. It's December. What was it? August? No. Yeah, August was August 18th, I think, was the fiesta. Well, somewhere in August. I had a glass of soda in August, and last year at the fiesta, 18 months ago, I had a glass of soda. So I've had 2 glasses of soda in the last year and a half. Yep, Scott Del Fuego. I saw that same documentary about the mafia running the olive oil industry and how they're diluting the olive oil with well, it's the second squeeze. It's the crushed nuts of the olive oil and other oil, and how it's a multi-million-dollar, maybe billion-dollar industry to dilute the olive oil down. And originally, they weren't even labeling it that it was diluted. So, yeah, I saw that same documentary. You're right, Scott. John Escape, I wouldn't call it motor oil with a swig of olive oil, but it's not olive oil anymore. There's no way you're going to get me to believe it tastes like garbage. I won't buy olive oil anymore. Now, you can buy 100% virgin olive oil, supposedly in a glass bottle, but I just won't pay. I don't know if it's $1,700 a gallon for the $1,700 for 5 liters. So that would be 300, almost 300 pesos. 5 times 350 pesos per liter. But I don't know, it's close to 600 pesos for a liter of olive oil. I won't pay it. That's $12 for a liter. It's not, it's a little bit more than a quart, but it's not worth it. No, you're right, John. $60 a week for food is not bad, but I know an entire family next door that lives on rice for 4 people, and then he'll go do some work for a few hours for fish. Okay, so their whole entire budget might be 1,000 pesos a month for 4 people. So I spend 12,000 pesos for just Daisy and I. So yeah, there's a lot of Filipinos that don't have. I'm serious too. There's a whole entire family. The only thing they eat is rice, and then the fishermen are work. There's a couple of fishermen not so far away, and they'll go to work at the fisherman's house and clean up the yard, pull the weeds out from in front of the house, something simple like that, and they'll get a few fish, maybe 4 people in the house, and they'll have 1-2 fish about 10 inches long. That's it. All right, you're going to have to excuse me. I have to go outside and get to see if my distilled water is done. So let's put Scott Del Fuego's link on again.
first thing you do when you get up out of bed is hit that street running and try to beat the masses. Go get yourself some cheap sunglasses. Followed her all night. In the pumpkin find me by the surface sweater kind of tight. She had a West Coast breath that was sweet as molasses. But what really knocked me out was the cheap sunglasses.
All righty. Hopefully, I'll be back on in a minute.
All righty.
I am back on, baby.
Hopefully.
I'm back on. Let's see if we can find the comment section of this page now. There we go. All right, I'm going to put the AC on. John Boonbean says the cheapest spaghetti, 500. That'd be 20 ounces. That's about a little more than a pound. Less than 20 pesos. Wow. That's cheap. Expat Prepper. No names, Expat Prepper. No names. Names are not allowed. You can be friends with anybody you want to be friends with, but don't post anybody's name on my channel. Thank you. It's cheap. Y'all, I understand what you're saying. Welcome to the machine, Expat Prepper. You made a mistake this morning putting people's names on my channel. I don't try to associate myself with anybody's channel or their names. So, oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God, I just looked up. Look at this. 25 thumbs down, baby. 18 up. How many troll accounts do we have going today, baby? How many troll accounts are there? We have to figure that low-class, low-brow individual more than 30 accounts and that he admitted to is using every one of his accounts to give me a thumbs down. We have to figure that he is in fact a Filipino national that lives in California. He was outed on Pinoy Trolls channel as a legitimate Filipino, and he is known as one of the world's greatest trolls. And he admitted that he had over 30 accounts. And I would imagine he is using them all up today to give me a thumbs down. Yep. That's trolling at its best. But we thank you for the we're at 25 to 20, we're at 27 to 25. Oh my goodness, oh my God. So everybody hit the thumbs up. We just went from whatever it was, 28, and we're up to, yep, that's an amazing thing. Those troll counts, they count. They count for the 30 and counting. Oh my God. There's only 15 people watching. Where are all these thumbs up coming from? 30 and 26. Up, somebody pushed the wrong button. 32 to 25. Up, there we go. How many people are out? 31. And it reminds me of a horse race. Gotta tell you. All right, so let me go back to my notes. I'm not done with the Jimmy the Sponge. Anyway, Jimmy the Sponge retired at the age of about 45. Now this is a true story, what happened to Jimmy the Sponge. Okay, apparently, now I don't know, I do know that years later, after Jimmy the Sponge from his state job, someone went to his house for some reason that worked with him, and then told my brother that in his garage, in Jimmy the Sponge's garage, there were multiple boxes of 48 rolls per box of the bathroom tissue that the state of New Jersey used. It had the official logo for the bathroom tissue, public restroom bathroom tissue, the kind you'd see in a public restroom, public parks department. So apparently he was stealing, Jimmy the Sponge was stealing toilet paper by the box. Okay, so now anybody who worked for the state, including my brother, knew that toilet paper was like cardboard. Okay, so I mean, what I would tell you that I know that on occasion I'd see that toilet paper in the basement when I did go to New York, and we just used it to wipe the grease off our hands when we were on the workbench. No one would put that toilet paper to their derriere. But Jimmy the Sponge apparently was using that toilet paper, and Jimmy the Sponge also had besides being he was a germaphobe. Okay, he was definitely a germaphobe. So what Jimmy the Sponge, and I don't know, I didn't see this. I don't know that it's a fact. I didn't see it. I can't show you a video of what Jimmy the Sponge used to do, but he was a wiper. They used to call him another nickname was Jimmy the Wiper. He used to wipe his buttocks with this very hard. The toilet paper wasn't cardboard, but it was very hard for the to wipe your buttocks with Charmin is one thing, but to wipe it with the public restroom toilet paper, that was something else altogether. So Jimmy the Sponge had all this toilet paper and boxes and boxes of it, 48 rolls to a box. And one day he was telling not my brother, but one of his other ex-co-workers, they had seen each other, that he had a very, very serious case of hemorrhoids. Okay. And the doctors, he didn't tell the doctor that he was using very cheap toilet paper he had multiple years worth of toilet paper in the garage that he stole from the state. And he had and he was an excessive wiper. In other words, some people just give it a quick sweep. Some people give it a quick sweep and then moisten up some of it a little bit. And So other people give it a good wipe and then they wet it down, you know, and some people are excessive wipers. Well, Jimmy the Sponge was an excessive wiper. And what had happened was he gave himself, he wore out the membrane on his, you know, his tissue, the tissue in on his buttocks. And it was similar. Well, it was basically it was, I don't know if they called them hemorrhoids, but he wiped so much that he hurt the tissue, the membrane on his buttocks. So he had to, the doctors eventually found out that he was using this cheap toilet paper that he stole from the state when he worked in the Parks Department and public restrooms, you know, because he had the keys for all the accessory rooms and toiletry rooms where they kept all the soaps and the towels and stuff, whatever supplies they had in the public restrooms. So he eventually, the doctors told him, you just can't use that paper anymore. And one of the more interesting things was not only did he have well, I'm trying to think of the right. He had a tender. Let's say he had a tender derriere. Like he wiped it so often that it actually hurt the membrane of the derriere part itself. But in addition to him, because he had this phobia, he was a germaphobe. He didn't want to. He would wrap his hand in toilet paper. He looked like the mummy when he would go at it. According to, I didn't see it, but I heard stories about it. So he would take all his fingers and wrap his fingers in this stuff, in this cardboard, and then wipe his derriere. But then this is that I can't even tell you if this part is true. But apparently his dog also had the same irritation on his derriere. So the story was that Jimmy the Sponge not only wiped his buttocks when he was done with his business, but that he would take care of his dog as well, because he was a germaphobe, man. He didn't want the dog sitting on the couch unless the dog had a clean buttocks. So I don't know if any of this is true. This is just a story I heard, that not only did Jimmy the Sponge have a delicate derriere and problems on his derriere, but his dog also had been wiped clean, so to speak. Yeah, Scott. Similar to 1500 grit wet sandpaper for an auto bodywork. That's right. But that's that final. It's sandpaper. It wipes, but it's also sandpaper. I have some 1200 in my shop for polishing stuff. In fact, I have a lot of it, more than most people could imagine. But yeah, I have some. That's the 1500 is what you use for the final coat. When in between coats of paint, you'll use a 1500. Right. So let's see. Shannon, Jimmy SquarePants. All right, Jimmy Sponge, Jimmy SquarePants. All right, I'll go with that. And John Escape. It's called anal fissure. Okay, there you go. So not only did Jimmy the Sponge have anal fissure problems from excessive wiping, but even more than that, even though he was a germaphobe, Jimmy the Sponge, he didn't wipe from front to back. He wiped from back to front. I didn't see this, but the story is that he wiped from back to front like a woman. Now, I don't know this to be true, but I just heard. I heard a lot of stories. When you work for, you got to remember, these people work for the state. They work with each other for 25 or 30 years. I mean, every little nuance of a person's life is pretty much public knowledge. So somehow or another, it became public knowledge that Jimmy the Sponge was wiping from back to front like a woman. Now, that was on his own person. Now, if it's true that Jimmy the Sponge was servicing his dog as well, I don't know what back to front and front to back would be on a dog because everything is vertical. I don't know. You'd have to. I'd have to call somebody up in New York to call him because I don't have Jimmy the Sponge's number. My brother might have it though. And anyway, Jimmy the Sponge had anal fissure, and his dog had anal fissure too. So the belief was that Jimmy the Sponge was not only taking care of his own personal hygiene, but he was cleaning up after his dog's personal hygiene as well, which is a good thing. I mean, you know, there's nothing like, because, well, there was a reason for it. You know how the dogs like to lick themselves clean? Jimmy would have no part of that because the dog would come in the morning and lick his face. So he would take care of clean up the dog, so when the dog licked, it would be a clean surface, no germs. He was a germaphobe. Jimmy the Sponge was a real first-class germaphobe. I can't believe how many stories there are about him complaining about breathing in dust that everybody breathed in for their whole life. You know, my brother would be power washing a truck in the grease. They put a degreaser with like a goop degreaser, or something called gunk, G-U-N-K, gunk degreaser, and they warm up the engine and they'd spray this gunk, orange flavored, orange smelling gunk. I have like 24 cans in the shed outside, and you warm up the engine, no water, and you'd spray this gunk on everything except the alternator and the carburetor. Cover that up and leave it set. Well, all right. So if the engine was really greasy, you'd power wash the engine down, but then you'd spray then you blow that off with a blower, and then you'd put the gunk on it. It would take the grease down to the metal if you wanted to paint, or it would take most of the grease off so the engine would cool better. So, but every time Jimmy the Sponge would go near the pressure washer and there was any kind of chemical on the engine, then he would go to the hospital and say that he breathed in the fumes. He wasn't much of a man. I mean, he was born a man, and he maintains the fact that he believes he's a man, but he had feminine ways. In other words, he didn't like to breathe in the fumes, even though the gunk smelled like orange citrus, but it was poisonous. But nobody else complained except Jimmy the Sponge. So every time they used the chemical, if he had to spray down the motor or whatever, because he had the power washing truck, if he had to come in and power wash down the engine with the chemical on it, then afterwards he'd say, I have to go to the hospital, I'm not feeling well. So he would get a couple of days off for sick leave. So, I mean, Jimmy the Sponge, he looked like a man. I mean, he definitely, and he was a man. I mean, there was never any question as to whether or not he was a heterosexual man. There was never any question about that. But he had feminine ways, like wiping from back to front. That's pretty much a female method of wiping the buttocks. But also he liked to have his hair. His hair always had to be clean shaven and stuff like that. He always kept his fingernails trimmed down, and he always wore gloves. And I mean, I couldn't blame him for wearing the gloves. We worked with a lot of garbage. He worked with a lot of garbage. Me, I never wore gloves. Anyway, so yeah, John Escape says he ripped it good. Dennis Adams is off of YouTube. That's how Dennis Adams is. He has taken all his stuff down and gone off YouTube. Has nothing to do with YouTube anymore. You probably won't ever see him. With the new rules in place, he didn't want to have any problems with YouTube, so he removed everything that he had on YouTube. To answer your question, I already talked about Warren. Warren sent me a message. He'll be telling us how he's doing as soon as he can. All right, so I don't know how Warren is. I haven't talked to him today. I could look on Skype, but I don't see. Let's see. I'll call him now. Nope, no Warren. All righty, so I'm going to close that window. Yeah, Scott, I felt bad for Jimmy the Sponge too. When I heard that Jimmy wiped from back to front, that was the turning point. I never liked the guy for most of my life. I never cared for him, but then when I realized he was an over wiper and he wiped from back to front, and as John Escape said, he had anal fissure, and that he also, it was believed that he would take care of his dog in the same way. I said, man, this guy's got some serious issues. So I mean, I never liked him. I'm probably never gonna like him, but I didn't dislike him when I found out that he was an over wiper but I mean that's because in your head, if you're a germaphobe and you can't stop wiping your buttocks, that's a phobia. And it's something that only is really in your head, because germs, there are so many germs in real life that just to go on a public bus in New York City or a train, the air in an airplane or a bus or even a car has more germs in it than the average derriere. I mean, you could literally walk up to basically anybody on the street and I don't know how to put it, but you could literally walk up to anybody on the street and ingest their germs, so to speak, from the derriere, and less would happen to you than if you lick the doorknob on your bathroom or lick the handle on your refrigerator. The refrigerator handle, the remote control for your television set, your cell phone, your computer keyboard has more germs than your derriere. So once I found out that Jimmy the Sponge was an over wiper, plus the fact that he was wiping back to front, which is a very feminine way to do things, I kind of felt sorry for the guy. And so I went from disliking him to accepting the fact that he has something wrong inside his head and that can't be fixed. You're not going to fix it with money's not going to fix it. Mr. Clean isn't going to fix it. Windex isn't going to fix it. Alcohol isn't going to fix it. Chlorine isn't going to fix it. Inside Jimmy the Sponge's head, there was something in there that was just not right. And, you got to feel sorry for people like that, because there's nothing that will fix that problem. I mean, if you're a germaphobe, compounded by the fact that you wipe from back to front and not front to back. That means that if you get a visual on that, where's it going when it gets to the front end? Yeah, where's it going when it gets to the front end? It's not going any place. If you pull from front to back, at least it's going away from you. But if you pull from back to front, that's something else altogether. Just making them a bigger mess than you started out with. I mean, my personal opinion. So, Jimmy the Sponge, he has some serious mental issues. There's no doubt about that. You got to feel sorry for the guy. Scott says, poor Jimmy the Sponge, an overwiper, ended up with his blood on his diaper. Oh, we have wordsmithing. Wordsmithing by Scott Del Fuego. Poor Jimmy the Sponge, overwiper, ended up with his blood on his diaper. In his most famous caper, he stole state toilet paper, and his wiping got even more hyper. Wow. Poor Jimmy the Sponge, an overwiper, ended up with blood on his diaper. In his most famous caper, he stole state toilet paper, and his wiping got even more hyper. Whoa. Wordsmithing. Poor Jimmy the Sponge was an overwiper, ended up with blood on his diaper. In his most famous caper, he stole state toilet paper, and his wiping got even more hyper. Whoa. Okay, that you did, John. Everybody lost their wrench. It was an accident. Sorry, John. Everybody lost their wrench. I deleted one wrench last week, and everybody's wrench disappeared, and I don't know why. I only deleted one wrench. So whoever had a wrench that is here, Michael McFarland, you had a wrench. Did you want another wrench? Do you care to be a moderator, Michael? You've always been a moderator. Yeah, this is Page High. Let's see. Yeah. What is not? I'm gonna have to. Now my Skype is working. The question is, Michael McFarland, do you want a wrench? I'll give you a wrench. I don't care. I added you. Okay. Michael McFarland is now a wrench. Okay. Stop! This is not Warren. Yeah, Scott Del Fuego. I did. It is. And now, okay. Hold on a minute. Let me see what this man wants. He is my friend, by the way, but I don't want to talk to him while I'm having a show. So, doing a show. Do you wish to be on the show with me? Question mark. Because, okay, I'm doing a show. Do you wish to be on the show with me? Okay, so we'll find out what he says in a minute. Yeah, Scott, after I spoke with you, I went through the sign-in process. I didn't think so. All right, buddy. I'll talk with you later. I know you didn't want to be on the show. Okay, so I went through the Scott Del Fuego. After I spoke with you yesterday, I went through the sign-in process. Didn't work. I went back I know that what the password is, and I went back and did it again, and it didn't work, and I gave up. And then I clicked the Skype button about an hour later without doing anything else after it didn't work the second time. After it didn't work for 3 days, I clicked the Skype button and it opened up as Skype. No problem. I haven't had a problem with it since, and I've used it a lot. Aqueduct Racetrack, John, is has been mostly closed anyway. They made a casino at Aqueduct Racetrack. It's mostly a casino now where you go gamble, cards, roulette tables, crap tables, stuff like that. It's not. They had horse races, but most of the business from Aqueduct was from the casino and the bars and the restaurants. But even though they still had horse races, it's not. Yeah, it's going to be a resort world. Yeah, something like that. I was there when I went to New York, not inside Aqueduct, but I had to be near there. There's a Home Depot right on 116th Street. Aqueduct is on Aqueduct is down at 111th Street and less down to 100th Street. It's like 11 blocks of that. So, yeah, Aqueduct is closing up. Yep. I didn't know about Belmont, but that's, yeah, I only went to Aqueduct a few times, but I'm not a gambler. So yeah, it's closing down. All right. So you went 2 years ago. I haven't been to Aqueduct. Oh, I don't remember. To the last time I was in Aqueduct for gambling purposes, I don't know if I ever placed a bet. I'm not much on the horses. I watched a lot of people lose money, and I would go there, but I don't think I ever placed a bet at Aqueduct. I went to the Meadowlands a few times, lost $10, $15, but that was more of a place to go party when. You will do a call with me when you get back to the city. Yeah, that's fine, Michael, not a problem. Just send me your Globe telephone number. When you do, just send it on some old video I have, and I'll see it. Put your name down on the video, because I get a lot of people sending me their phone number, and not a lot of people that I would want to meet. But being that you are a long-term subscriber and Patreon member, I would be happy to meet you, and we can figure out a place to meet either in the city or in Alona Beach. That would be up to you. Not a problem. So yeah, not a problem at all. Just don't ask me to come the same day that you leave a message. Give me a day or so, because like Monday, if my belt doesn't come today, Daisy said the belt will probably come on Monday. So Monday is out. Yeah, Now I'm going to try to get a number from Daisy. Hold on a minute. I'm going to try to get a number from Daisy and see if I can find out where this belt is. I got to fix my glasses. Hold on. This screw was popping out. You need glasses to fix your glasses. Okay. These are too powerful to wear for the computer. They're for fine stuff. I have no idea. I haven't been to the Meadowlands since the last time I was in the Meadowlands was, that was a long time ago, man. Jeez. 1995? Could it be that long? Jimmy Hoffa. Actually, there, yeah, Jimmy Hoffa was there that long, probably. Yeah, actually, Jimmy, I don't know. Actually, my father's buddy, my father grew up with a guy named Frankie Calise, who took over the Teamsters Union at Kennedy Airport. But he knew that Jimmy Hoffa was going to be missing a long time before Jimmy Hoffa knew it. And he said, one day he came over to my dad's house and said, I'll be taking over the Teamsters Union. And he asked my dad if my dad wanted a job driving a truck. And he was going to take over he asked almost every, I was a little boy, but I remember him asking my dad if he wanted to switch from the tugboats to driving a truck at Kennedy Airport. And he says, how are you going to get everybody, because he asked everybody in the family if they wanted a job driving a truck. He says, because I'm taking over the Teamsters Union in Kennedy Airport, basically in Queens, in New York. And my dad said no, he wanted to stay with the tugboats. No one went with him. Eventually his kids worked for him, but I didn't want to drive a truck either, but I could have, but I didn't want to. Should have, would have been really rich, but I just didn't want to drive a truck. I went to aviation high school. I wanted to do mechanics. You're welcome, John. Okay, so Paige, I saw Paige up there. Paige came in late. He did. Paige, hi, just got here. It's the tail end of the conversation, pretty much. Well, let me look through my notes about this. My brother's friend, Jimmy the Sponge. I'll see if there's any more notes. Basically, I was just saying how Jimmy the Sponge complained about everything. He complained about working. If he was pressure washing anything down, but, concrete, he didn't mind so much, but he didn't want to the bathrooms, anything with bleach. He was always complaining about something. He never stopped complaining. Yeah. He used to complain about the cold all the time, too. But the cold does monkey you up. So he used to complain that his knees didn't work good in the cold. But a lot of people have that problem. Well, and then pretty much eventually, Jimmy the Sponge's co-workers just didn't like him so much that his work ethic was just garbage, but it got to the point where the men that worked with him didn't want to work with him anymore, and there was a lot of near tragic accidents, and eventually Jimmy the Sponge quit, thinking that one of these could be fatal. So talking about fatal accidents, tomorrow I'm going to talk about getting literally run over by a jet ski. I should not be here today. I should be stone dead in the morgue somewhere. Right now, today, I should be stone dead. A woman, a Chinese woman that spoke very little English, physically, directly, 100% ran me over with a jet ski at somewhere between 30 and 40 miles an hour. And I only turned around in time to see it and ducked down. I pulled myself down with one hand, and I'll tell that story tomorrow, because there is no reason for me to have turned around and looked. I was swimming full on ahead with a full on breaststroke, doing an exercise routine, and there was no reason for me to turn around. And she ran direct. I just turned around, and that was a series of events that made me turn around, but there was no reason for those events to even take place. So we're going to talk about fate and destiny, or is it God and or the spirit world that controls one's fate and destiny, and are there certain spirit entities that pay particular attention to certain people and keep them safe? So that pretty much is going to be tomorrow. And tomorrow was also December 15th. It's the anniversary of me being stabbed to death in the year 1970 on December 15th. Both my brother and I got stabbed. I died. He did not. And then I came back to life. So I'll tell that story tomorrow in conjunction with the jet ski. Literally a jet ski. I should be dead. There's no reason for me to be alive today, other than the fact that a series of things happened in a matter of 6 or 7 seconds that made me turn around and duck. And had I didn't have not good reflexes, I still would be dead. I mean, not only did I have the conscious awareness that the jet ski was going to run me over, but I knew what to do and how to do it. And that otherwise, even if I would have froze up when I saw the jet ski coming, panicked, like the idiot on the jet ski panicked, I would be dead. There's no doubt about that. One more thing that Jimmy the Sponge did get caught doing is he got caught using the official vehicle after they pinched him for taking gas in the 5-gallon containers for the pressure washing truck, for the gas for the pressure washer. He got caught. Well, he would fill up the official vehicle and take it home for lunch, and he would siphon the gas out of the tank. And one of the auditors figured out how many miles he was using the truck for and how many gallons of gas. He got pinched for stealing gas. He was siphoning the gas out of the tank also. So let's see if there's anything else. Okay. So eventually what happened to Jimmy the Sponge was he took an early retirement, and with all of his mental aberrations and or delusions of grandeur, of how he was always being misappropriated, his that they were always taking advantage, everybody was always bothering him. It was always somebody else's fault. He was diagnosed eventually with the symptoms of being a narcissist and placed on a very powerful antipsychotic drug that in some circles are called jujubes. Okay, now they're not. There's no scientific name, jujubes, but Jimmy the Sponge was diagnosed with possible narcissistic tendencies and other psychoses, including germophobia. He was a germaphobe. There's no doubt about that. And eventually the doctors, years after he left the state facility, eventually they put him on a controlled flow of jujubes, and they vary these jujubes. A jujube is a street term for meds from doctors, because what the hospitals will do, especially somebody like Jimmy the Sponge, they can't keep you on the same medication like for 6 months or 8 months. There are approximately 27 cocktails. They call it a cocktail. 27 different cocktails of depressants and anti-anxiety drugs. And what they'll do is they'll put you on one type of antidepressant for I don't know, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and then what they'll do is in 6 or 7 weeks the doctor will reevaluate you, and then they'll put you on a different prescription. Now, these are all prescription drugs that Jimmy the Sponge and a lot of people are using. The pharmaceuticals, $1 billion industry, these antidepressants. I'm just reading. Escaping to the Philippines. That's Big Head. Ah. Are you coming or what? Where are you? I know you said you were coming. When are you going to be here is the big question. We'll go out and with you. I'm sure that life will be interesting, at to say the least. All right. So I know you said you were coming around. I don't know when you said you are. So I'm gonna hide that comment. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. But when are you getting here? That was the question. That's the question. When is that going to happen? He's on the prowl. All right. So he's not going to answer the question. Oh, I know. You're afraid of that guy. Okay. It's the magical question. Oh, you're not afraid of that guy. I heard you were afraid of that guy. Not Ned, the other guy. I heard that the other guy was going to throw you a beating. So, that guy. We won't talk about who the guy is. You know who the guy is. He was talking about throwing you a beating if he ever saw you. I know we can't do it, so I wouldn't worry about it. It was a delusion of grandeur on his behalf. We're not going to mention any names. We're not going to mention any names. No names. Okay, no names. But there was somebody talking about but that may have been the Juju Beans talking. So anyway, eventually what happened to Jimmy the Sponge is no, I said no names. I'm not real sure if you heard me. I know you heard me. No names. I'll tell you when you get here, or I'll tell you send me your if you're in America, send me your phone number. Find one of my old videos. Send me your phone number and I'll call you up. Any American number or cell phone number, I can call you up, or globe number if you're in the Philippines. Okay? Not a problem. Then I'll tell you all about it. I heard somebody was going to throw you a big beating next time that he saw you. He was going to come looking for you. Anyway, now far be it from me to start trouble between two YouTubers, because I would never do that. But that was the story, that he was going to throw you a beating. If you came to go see him, he was going to throw you a beating. If he saw you, he was going to throw you a beating. And then he was going to throw you a beating. Yeah. We don't want to get involved with a bowler or a 45. Just telling you what I heard in the pipeline. Okay. Yep. I'm going to remove that comment. You can't be doing stuff like that on my channel. Blah blah blah. It's all blah blah blah. Okay, so that's my show. So the guy Jimmy the Sponge eventually got put on a series of Juju Beans, and every 4, 5, 6 weeks the cocktail, they call it a chemical cocktail. every 4 or 5 weeks, even till this day, even though he retired in somewhere in Asia, he's on, according to some people, he's still on this, still on a regimen, cocktail regimen, but no one knows what the cocktail is and how often he takes the cocktail. All right, Big Head, escaping to, let's even see if that's you. Let's find out if that's you. I don't know who you are, so let's find out if you are the guy that is really escaping to the Philippines. And you are. Okay.
I think foreign is.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, just send me your phone number. Oh, yeah. Now I know it's you. Send me your phone number on one of my old videos. American landline or American cell phone number. I could call you up. Just send me the number. I'll call you. All right. So I'm going to end this live stream. I want to thank everybody for coming. Tomorrow's live stream, I'll send you my bank account number. I'll send you my bank account number. It wouldn't do you no good without the code that goes with it. And but I'll send you the number itself. It'd be okay for me. But there is a code that goes with it, so you wouldn't help you much. I want to thank everybody for coming. I know you're kidding, but good night. And like Jimmy Durante, the guy, Jimmy the Sponge, he was, well, he did have family. Okay, so Scott knows about this thing called the cocktail. I know about the cocktail as well. I have a family member. One of my cousins unsuccessfully tried to commit suicide multiple times, and he was put on what, that's how I know that they call it a cocktail. They change it every couple of weeks, 4, 5, 6 weeks. And my cousin literally tried to commit suicide multiple times. It was more than 10 times, but apparently he wasn't real good at it. But he actually did slit his wrists, but only sideways, not lengthwise. And he did try to overdose on narcotics. And he would take excessive amounts of powder back in the 80s. I mean, an unbelievable amount. He would make lines the width and the length and half the thickness of a Bic pen, and he'd do 2 of those. So I would watch him. Dude, you're gonna die. He goes, I don't care. It's okay. You don't care. I don't care. So he was a funny guy, my cousin. He was one of the, we call them the more people. He needed more. He always had to have more, whatever it was, more alcohol, more marijuana, more powder than anybody else. He was a really strange dude, man. He was a really strange dude. He was smart, real smart, but he was, he had a death wish. I don't even, yeah, he's alive. He was alive the last time I heard about him, leaving 200 to 500 comments a day on Facebook. No joke. Somewhere between 200 and 500 comments a day. I had to unsubscribe to it. My mail would get filled up. Not a joke. Okay, so Scott says cocktail regimen of psychoactive substances designed to work by suppressing or stimulating various brain chemicals that can affect mood, thought processes, and perception of reality. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what it did. It was a cocktail regimen. I know that from my cousin. My cousin They could never regulate it, though. They could never get him right. He worked for me for years. He was a good worker. I'll tell you how smart he was. You only had to tell him how to do something one time. In fact, one day I was operating my crane barge, and he was watching. He had been watching me been working for me probably the whole summer. And he watched how I operated the crane when he was, because there'd be a low water man, whoever put the slings on the pilings, and then I was operating, and then there'd be a guy in the distance for the vertical. I could see the piling this way, but then there'd be a guy in the to the left or right that could see the piling back and forth, because you lose your depth perception. The piling's 40 feet away from you, and you're working with sometimes a gray background, whatever. But my cousin would be the guy that he was my low water man. He put the slings on and adjusted where the slings went on the piling so I could pick them up and put the drop hammer on them. But he watched me for a while, and then he goes, "Can I try?" So what do you want to try? He goes, "I want to try operating the crane." I said, "Okay." Because anybody that asked me if they wanted to operate the crane, most people that asked me to operate the crane, if they had enough confidence to ask to operate the crane, and no one was around except me next to them, the worst thing that could happen is they would drop the drop hammer down into the water, and the pole would fall and fall over in the water. And we had it tied off to the barge anyway. So he actually operated the crane and the drop hammer, started off really slow, and he actually used the drop hammer and boomed the crane up and boomed the crane down. I was right next to him, and I let him have the feel for the machine. And I would say within 2 weeks of him operating the crane every day a little bit for a couple of hours a week, in a couple of weeks, he could pick the stick up, set it on the corner of the barge, on the perch of the barge, and then put the drop hammer on the stick, and then pick the stick up. We'd put a chain around the bell and pick the stick up. When I say a stick, I'm talking about anywhere from 40 feet to 60 feet of piling. That was just a stick, a little toothpick, compared to the stuff we used for the Union. But within a couple of weeks, he could operate the crane. So he wasn't stupid, but he was suicidal. And that was one guy, and the other guy was a Chinese guy. He was a homicide detective in Chinatown. He was a narcotics homicide detective in Chinatown, New York City. That was his job. And he worked for me for, a long time. I did him a favor once. And he said to me, "I owe you a favor." I said to him, "All right, well, I'm getting a new crane on the barge. I'm buying a bigger crane." I had a 6-ton Bantam, BANTAM Bantam crane, and I was buying a 35-ton Loran diesel. I had a 6-ton gas Bantam, and it was just beating the hell out of me. The gas, I was using $50 worth of gas a day. So I bought a 35-ton diesel operated crane, and I had to cut the old crane off and then put the new crane on the barge. And I had done Peter, we'll just leave it at Peter, I had done him a favor about a year before that, and he goes, "I owe you a favor." I said, "Okay." And he retired, and after I did him somewhere around the same time, and I said to him, "I need help cutting the old crane off the barge. I need a fire watch, and I need somebody to pull the material out of the way," because I was cutting a 6-ton crane up that was welded down to the barge. And he goes, I'll help you put the new crane on the barge. And it took about a couple of weeks to get the old crane off, well down pad eyes, P-A-D-S, pad, P-A-D, eyes, E-Y-E-S, pad eyes down on the barge. We had a well down pad eyes that to put the chain to hold the new crane from tipping over. We had to cut all the old crane off and cut the boom up. And I used the one crane from the new crane to pick up the old crane and move it around. And I put it on shore. And then Peter would be my ground man, putting the chains and stuff. He had a feel for that. And we worked together for about 3 weeks. And then Peter, we had to bring the barge to the dock where I had the new crane. And there was like a 2-foot slope downward onto the barge that I had to put. The land was 2 feet higher than the barge, and we built it up with 3x10 tongue and groove lumber from a bulkhead I had built. And I had leftover new stuff, and I had old longleaf yellow pine. I had like 5 inches of wood down between the land and the barge, and but it was on an angle, and in order to get the new Loran crane, the crane ran like a top. It was the motor ran like a clock, but the gear that made the crane go forward or back, the transmission had no gears in it at all. There was no forward or reverse. It was on rubber, but there was no gear in the transmission. The gears were gone. You could put it in forward, but all you heard was there was no way to move it forward. So I had to put a shiv to the pilot house, to the motor package in the pilot house, and then I put a shiv down to the front of the crane, to the pad eye that was welded to the front of the crane. And then I put the stick up in the air. And when I picked up the wire, when I pulled up on the number 1 wire, I pulled the wire down through like if this is the boom of the crane, the wire came down here and then went to the pilot house over here. Well, when I picked up the wire, it pulled the crane forward. And then it pulled it onto the wood, but I told you it was a 2-foot drop. And the one thing I never planned on was that I had no way to stop the crane once it started moving. I forgot. Okay, I had wood there. I had like a wooden wood on the deck of the barge that's like 6 feet, 7 feet away from the pilot house. I had like 3x10, and in front of that I had a 2x10, and then on top of that I had a 3x10 on an angle nailed to the 2x10. So theoretically, it should have been like a curb stop, except that the crane weighed 35 tons, and it went down the hill and jumped up over the curb stop, but it did stop before it hit the pilot house. That was a good thing. And so now the crane is on the barge, and Peter and I had spent 3 weeks putting and preparing and cutting and moving stuff. And when the crane went on the barge, and the barge was rocking back and forth, when it stopped, because I was in the crane and I was facing the pilot house, when I got out of the crane, Peter was gone. And he was gone. It wasn't lunch. It wasn't breakfast. He was just gone. And I finished taking the lumber out from underneath the crane and just dragging it out, throwing it on the side. Dunnage at that point. It was all smashed up. And I finished, took all the planking off the front. I turned the crane around and snatched up all the planks that I used for the paint, and I put it up on the side of the property. It was just garbage, dunnage. And I went home at the end of the day. I finished work. I thought Peter went to buy lunch or something, or maybe go buy sandwiches, because I bought him lunch. When he worked for me, I bought him lunch. And when I did him a favor, he bought breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because it was around the clock type of a thing. But I got home and he was next door sitting out on the deck, on the balcony. I'm going, "What's up?" He goes, "How you doing? How's everything?" I'm going, "Where did you go?" He goes, "I'm done. I do you a favor." Okay. All right. Thank you. So he was a man of his word. He goes, "I help you get crane on barge," Chinese guy. "I help you put crane on barge." Because when I did him a favor, he goes, "You do me a favor, one day I do you a favor." That's how he talked. And I knew him for like, I don't know, 12 years when he asked me for a favor. And I said, "If you want to do that, we'll do it. But I mean, but you owe me a favor." And he goes, "Okay, I owe you a favor." And he did. When the barge stopped rocking, I turned around, he was gone. But then he came back to work for me later on when I was doing bulkheads. Yeah, I have just household tools, right? Yeah, that's right. I forgot. I'm the guy who just knows about household tools. All right. So, Scott Del Fuego, good night. Says John escaped. The drug companies can help control the masses. Yeah, they can. They do control the masses. Lefty all around. Welcome to the machine. Welcome to the machine. And more Cowbell. Scott Del Fuego, you must have intelligence in the family. My cousin, I won't say his name, had a unbelievable. He was unbelievably smart. His mother knew every word in every encyclopedia and dictionary and how to spell it. And she never lost a game of Scrabble. I mean, if she had the letters, she would win. But she knew words that that's not a word, and it was a word. Yeah. That she knew every word in every dictionary and every encyclopedia. So Scott says you must have intelligence in the family. My mother was cum laude also. Yeah, she was graduated top 2 or 3 people in her, and she went to a high-end school, and she graduated. Whatever cum laude is, she graduated the top of the top of the top of the class. So, yeah. So on that, my mother's side, my father was real smart too, but not book-wise, just mechanical. My cousin Stephen, his mother, his father was way beyond genius as well, and my aunt also. Two of my aunts, and also my cousin's father, all really, really smart people. Pretty much everybody in my family is very smart, but not like Steve's mom or my other aunt or his father. Not that smart. His father was. Stephen's father was he was in charge of the gyroscopes on an old diesel submarine and the batteries. He did gyroscopes and batteries. He was really smart. Then he was in charge of a large portion of a large building, Bell South, and he was a genius when it came to electronics. When I was monking steel, that's a hell of a job, takes brass balls. Yeah, monking steel was, that had to be, that had, at no time did you ever climb onto a headache ball and go up and monk steel, where at no time did you ever think you were going home. There was no such thing as sitting going up onto a headache ball, monking still for the day, and you say you didn't make plans when you were monking. All you did was monk. That was a pretty trippy experience, monking still. Even up on a 20-foot sheet, that was 20-foot high is a short sheet. They might have been 30-foot sheets, and you're up 24, 25 feet. But you're just sitting on a piece of half-inch thick steel. But some of those sheets were 80 or 90 feet. You're up in the air. You never thought about going home. You just thought about what you were doing. There was no future, monkey. That was a stupid job. Stupid, dangerous job. But it was, and I'm glad I did it. But I wouldn't want to do that for a long time. But all the new guys got to play monkey. And if you didn't want to monk, then the union would not, they'd send you home and you'd never work again. So it was just like paying your dues. You had to monk. No one wanted to monk, but the good part about monking was if you monked in the morning at 11:30, they'd send, when you came down for lunch, you could go home. And you got paid for the day. So monking was good in that regard, but you only had to work from 7:30 to 11:30 in the morning, 7 o'clock to 11:30. And then at 12 o'clock, you'd monk from 12 to 3, 2:30, and then that's it. We worked 7-hour days. We didn't work 8-hour days. Anyway, I just know about household tools. Yeah, that guy talks about, I can't believe he talks about me like that. I just can't believe it. When I listen to some of the stuff he says, it's like, where does he come up with this stuff? I mean, is he on a cocktail? You got to wonder if there's something wrong with him. You got him. There's definitely a delusion. So, too many people, says Scott Del Fuego, too many people don't know the difference between intelligence and knowledge. I would agree with that. Knowledge, intelligence. And if you have both, and common sense, you're all right. But ladies and gentlemen, I see there are 16 people watching that I'm just looking. If you haven't hit the thumbs down and you want to hit the thumbs down, now would be a good time. If you want to hit the thumbs up, now would be a good time. If you're watching and you're not subscribed to my channel, tomorrow's show is going to be really good. I'm going to do fate and destiny, or is it God and or the spirit world that controls individuals' lives? Not on the whole, not having anything to do with prayer, not having anything to do with the conjuring up of spirits, but there is something that guides certain people's fate and or destiny, and it doesn't have anything at all to do with a person's demeanor. It just has to do with an individual, what I believe is an individual caretaking, so to speak, of a person, the person in general. Doesn't mean that it's going to stay like that, but there are certain instances that have occurred to me in my life that there's just no reason whatsoever I should have went home that day. And last Saturday, was it Monday or Tuesday? That was one of those days. I got hit by a jet ski, ran over at 30 to 40 miles an hour. A woman ran straight over me, and she should have killed me, but I ducked. And why I ducked and how I ducked, I don't know. I know how I did, and I know what I did, but I don't know why I turned around when I did. Oh, I do know why, but there's no reason for all those events to have taken place to make me turn around when the jet ski was coming. I couldn't hear it. I certainly didn't see it. I was facing in the other direction, but I did. So Scott says, I'm jacked up for this one, going to be a classic Fazio metaphysical insight. Tune into this one. It's going to be great. I guarantee it, says Scott Del Fuego. Yeah, this is a true story. And in addition to the true story, I have a 14-minute conversation with a Chinese interpreter on the beach where she hit me and then left the scene of the accident, left me 350 feet out in the ocean, and 2 police officers, 4 people that work for the jet ski company, 6 people in her family, and 25 people around the interpreter and myself and the police, because the police stayed there to make sure that they didn't go anywhere. I did call the police, and there were 2 police officers, Filipinos, and they asked me what I wanted to do. I says, I want these people to understand that this woman hit me out in the middle of the ocean and how stupid she is. And he said, how are you going to do that? She doesn't speak English. I said, well, we are going to hold them here until somebody speaks Chinese and English, gets here and interprets the story to make her understand that she panicked, she almost killed me, and then she left the scene of an accident, and she's too stupid to understand that. So somebody's going to stay here until we get an interpreter. She was scared to death of that she hit me, but that's the point, was she needed to understand what I had to say. And after, I guess we waited 30 or 40 minutes for the interpreter to come, and then it took another 20 minutes, and then you'll see what happened. I have a video I'll play you clips from, so of the interpreter and her and myself and the police interacting. So that's it. And tomorrow's also the anniversary of me being stabbed to death, December 15th, 1970. So we'll tune in for that one. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for stopping by. The thumbs up went down and the thumbs down went up. You guys, you people are a bunch of fickle individuals. I'm Bing Permy from Michael Fazio and Daisy May. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the time it took to watch my special Friday the 13th. And remember, if you know somebody named Jimmy the Sponge and you see him around, if he has a YouTube channel or he's just hanging out on the street somewhere with a dog, with a pampered dog, you know, say hello. Say hello for me. Bye-bye, John Boone Bean. All right, I'm Bing Permy. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks again for watching. If I get in touch with Warren, I'll let you guys know. Gotta go. I got somebody that left me a message on Skype that wants to say something but did not want to be on Skype. I'm Bing Permy. Bye-bye for now.